welcome back to Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I want to first thank you for sharing your time with us today. I have a great show for you today because this is kind of one of the things that I'm always curious about. I'm always looking for more answers. And here at Kim Talks Resilience, we are always inviting women who are entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers, and authors to come in and share their insight and actionable steps that will help us shift our business, shift our life, maybe that 1 degree, that 5 degrees, but whatever it is, shift it just a bit so we can continue moving forward to build the successful lives that we all deserve. So before I dive in, I do want you all to take a look over at queenofresilience.shop. That's queenofresilience.shop. This is just some fun stuff that was rolling around in my brain and I decided to put it on a t-shirt. So do go and take a look at queenofresilience.shop. So our guest today, as mentioned, is going to have a lot of answers and insights for us. Jennifer Radke is an international speaker, author, and strategic business leader with over 20 years of experience in sales and organizational leadership. The real world solutions that she brings to the business stems from her experience as coaching, developing, and training employees, and have made her a highly sought after speaker and trainer for businesses of all sizes. Before purchasing the National Institute for Social Media, NISM, in 2016, the social CEO was the owner and chief strategist at Socially Inspired, a social media training and consulting company that is still serving small and medium sized businesses today. Jennifer has an MS in organizational leadership in addition to being an NISM certified social media strategist and an SMS, and she is an instructor also. She is also currently an associate professor at St. Mary's University of Minnesota and the author of Stories from the Social Side, Advice for Marketing Professionals to Marketing Professionals. So you can see why I have Jennifer coming in today because you know what? Let's all hit to 2023 strong, right? And people need to know. I read something in Forbes recently, Jennifer, and I'm going to have you weigh in on this because this is your backyard. Forbes said that if you don't create a brand, others will do it for you. And even people who have corporate positions who are not in the entrepreneurial space need to have a brand. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Yeah, Kim, it's so important. And I often tell people that you have a personal brand whether you nurture it or not, right? Your brand is what people think about you, what they experience to be true about you. And so it's not things that you have to get flashy about, right? And make things kind of unreal or kind of superhero esque. It's who you are and what you bring to the world, right? And for professionals, that's part of what we need to show the organizations we want to work with, the people that may work for us, or the companies that may want to do business with us.
And social media is almost like a resume these days. So be careful what you're putting out there, folks.
Oh, absolutely.
Streaking
Absolutely.
through the football field is not going to be good for your resume. But um, let's chat first. Let's get everybody aware of who you are. Can you share a little bit about who you are, where you're at?
Sure. I'm a Midwest girl living in Minneapolis, just south of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm the mom of two teenagers. One is off to college the freshman year, and one is a junior in high school. I have a huge passion for learning and development, and that's kind of where my career has taken me over the years. But really, I'm a strong Midwestern girl who believes in helping people be better at what they want to do in life.
And the Midwest has had quite the light shined on it through this whole almost transient real estate. So many people coming from the coast into the Midwest. So lots of shifts are being seen even in the Midwest that haven't seen these all these different people coming in. So that must be interesting just from a business perspective.
It is interesting for sure to watch, and in my opinion, overdue.
You know what? I'm from Kansas originally, and it's nice to get. It's you grow up and you sit there and you know the same families generation after
Mhm.
generation. So it is kind of nice to get some fresh blood in there and mix it up a bit and some new ideas. Speaking of ideas and
Mhm.
everything, I want you to walk us through because we all know social media. Everybody, unless they've been living under a rock for the last 20 years, I mean, Zuckerberg came in, and next thing you know, we've got this Facebook thing, and all of a sudden, the way we communicate with everybody shifts, and then technology comes in with text. I mean, we don't even go to the basement to yell at our kids anymore. We just text them. Uh, Social media, walk me through. I want to know what you do, and then we're going to dive into a couple questions, and we're going to find something that somebody after listening to this can actually implement.
Sure.
Okay.
S so, just quick background, I didn't always do social media, and I am not the first person that people would think of social media when you look at me. I'm in my mid 40s. I don't necessarily scream the trendy, latest and greatest new thing, right? But the reality is social media is the way in which we communicate, and it's a tool that we use to communicate. And so for anybody who has communicated with other people, business wise or personally, social is just a new way for us to do that. But it is a shift in learning how to do that effectively and be efficient, and succinct while keeping our brand on point. I mean, we mentioned that right away, right? It's important to know what your brand is, and you can't be one thing online and something offline because it will catch up with you, and it doesn't meld right in the right ways. Instead of going together nicely like a cog, it's going to disconnect. So what I do now is I work with marketing professionals primarily, who want to better understand how to utilize the tools that social media has provided for us to communicate with their customers, whether they be potential customers or current customers, in order to really build that relationship and build on that customer experience. And we do so through a certification. So, an exam that assesses them on their ability to achieve 6 different content areas. Of course, before you sit for an exam, you usually want to study. So we do have some preparation tools, classes, and things that we provide as well. But we have them focus on 6 areas. Those are strategic planning. Who's your audience? What's your goal? Why is social part of that, right? Compliance and governance. Are you doing it ethically? Are you meeting the rules and the laws that are out there? I mean, social came at a time when we thought anything that was online was fair game, and that's not true. Copyright and trademark still exists even with digital media, so we have to understand how that works. We go through things like marketing and communications. How do titles or headlines attract your users? What type of content should you be putting out there? We go through project and campaign management, right? If you're trying to maybe launch a new product, how are we going to do that? What does that look like? How is it different from what we do every day in communicating with our audience? Online community management. So, yay, you built a following somewhere. Now what, right? How are you going to keep them engaged, keep them interested? How do you handle crisis if one were to occur? And then last but absolutely not least is research and analysis. How are we using information, data to back up the decisions that we're making? There's so much data in social media that we can make really informed decisions about what our audience wants to see from us. So that's what I do, and I love it. I love helping people grow, and helping people take that step.
So somebody said we have all this information but no wisdom.
That's true.
So I think it's fascinating because what you're talking about is the wisdom side
Mhm.
of delivering the information. So with that being said, what is the number one thing that you see that people make? What's the number one mistake in social media that you see regularly, right? I know there's a gazillion of them out there, but what's the one that you see repeatedly that good people make?
They don't know what their goal is.
They don't know what their goal is. So
Yeah,
how do
that's really the big picture piece. There's a lot of subsets to that, right? But if I ask, and you do real estate, right? So I'm going to pick on you for a second, right? And
Okay.
not your social, but just your industry. So when I ask an agent, typically, who's your audience, right? What are you trying to accomplish? They say, well, I want to connect with people who want to buy or sell. Anyone who wants to buy or sell. Well, because you are successful in this,
Yeah.
that if you're that broad and that, kind
Yeah.
of scattered, then the message doesn't hit its audience and its intended target. But when you can narrow that in a little bit and understand what your goal is and how social fits with that, then you can create the content that people need. And so there are subsets behind that. But most people, whether it's their professional brand or their business brand, they don't know what their goal is with social. Is it customer service? Is it recruiting talent? Is it driving leads? Is it converting leads? What is that piece? And then how are you going to use it to do that?
I'm going to pick on real estate because real estate agents do post, and some of them are really bad. Some of them are really
Mm-hmm.
bad. It's like, I don't need to see another house. And they're all going, well, I want, buyers or sellers. And it's like, if that's what you're posting about, you're already too late.
Yes.
You're already too late. I am always like, where people only do business with the people they know, like, and trust. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing, so that's from, Bob Berg coined that, what, back in the 90s, and what was it, the go
I
giver
believe
and
so.
go
Yep.
giver sell more. But no, like, trust. People have to know you
Mm-hmm.
in order to like you,
Mm-hmm.
in order for you to earn their trust, so they will give you their dollar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So walk me through that know you. What is some of the fatal flaws that we see, or some of the magic that you see, on the getting to know you side of real social media?
Yeah, let's talk about the magic side because I like to be a little bit
Okay,
more
let's
positive,
let's
right?
talk
So,
let's talk magic. I'm good. I'll go either way. Either way.
it's really about being true to your brand, right? And if you don't know what that is, that's the first hurdle. But sharing with people what you know, who you are, authentically and real, right? In your intro about who I am, I said right away, I'm a mom of teenagers. This is part of me, right? I spend most of my fall, and it used to be fall and winter, but it's now just fall, in a swimming pool watching my kids compete. This is part of who I am. And as a business leader, do I have to talk about that? No, I don't have to. But for people to get to know me a little bit, to understand my experiences and background, it might be valuable to the conversation, right? So it's about figuring out who you are and sharing that with people. On the professional side, because I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't want to share my personal stuff. So let's use an example on the professional side. Um, when I post on social media, I will post things like being here on this talk, right? Because people can come and they can hear from you and I. And the words that we're saying are not buy my product, get certified, whatever. It's here's who I am. This is why I do what I do. This is the challenges I've had, whatever those things are. And it makes people see your story, hear your experiences, understand your expertise. And that's how they get to know you. Hopefully, they also then build a little bit more into that like you because they might actually reach out and have a conversation. And if you reply, because you should, it's a social network after all, right? So it's not broadcast media, it's social. Then reply and they get to build that like and that trust because they're seeing maybe the resources that you can share with them. They're seeing the value that you place on them and their place in your business structure. So there's lots of great things that we can do. And it starts with being authentic, being true.
being true. And I have some gals that I know, and all of a sudden it's like they go through this kind of evolution, and they're trying to model one person's social media or another person's social media, and then all of a sudden you see the F bomb drop. And you're going, okay, now I know she has a potty mouth, but I didn't expect that because the social media presence up to that point had not prepared me for that.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't have a personal problem with it, right? You should
Right.
see me. You should see me cooking. It's like a diner talk in there, truck diner talk. Um, before we go into my next question, I want to say something. I knew I liked you. I'm a swim competition mom too.
Oh, fantastic.
Swimming saved and created the man my middle child is. And I
Mhm.
just want to put out there, I am not a therapist or anybody in neuroscience or anything. I am just a mom who has really awesome young adults, or not quite so young anymore. And I will say, if you're having a struggle with a child that has any of the D's, ADHD, ODD, anxiety, any of those things, um, take a look at swimming. Swimming is such an incredible sport,
Mhm.
and it gives solace and weight to the body when you need that recoup time that a lot of these kids that are overstimulated need. So I love the fact that you said that. We
Yeah.
spent a lot of poolside time, which is good for the healthy young skin, all that
Yes,
moisture.
absolutely. Don't use me as an example, but yes.
Nothing like 4:30 in the morning in the middle of a snowstorm to get across town to that pool.
Yeah, you go in where it's 80 degrees and try to figure out that balance, right? You got dressed up to stay warm while you got there, and
Oh
you take
yeah.
it off,
Oh,
layer it down when you get in.
and there is no better coat on the market than those swim jackets. The ones that are almost full body, that are like walking sleeping bags. Those things are
Uh-huh.
so cool. Um, so I had to throw that out there.
Indeed, I love it.
You know, so I want to talk engagement. You mentioned engagement.
Mhm.
What are some tips and tricks that we can do in order to get better engagement on our post?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is probably the easiest one. Ask questions, right? We get really busy, especially in our professional profiles or our business profiles, in just sharing content. Here's some data. Here's what I did last. Here's an upcoming event. But why are we not encouraging people to respond? You know, you right away in the beginning of this talk, you brought up a Forbes article, right? And you asked me what I thought about it. When we share resources like that online, why can't we ask people what they think of it,
Oh,
right? That's going to
yeah.
create for some the desire to respond. Now, the part that people are afraid of typically when we ask questions is the response part. We want responses because that increases engagement, but we're afraid. What if they disagree with us,
And
right?
I think that's a very real fear, though, in the sense, and I think it's valid because we've just spent what, the last 3 years, nobody doing Thanksgiving together. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of trepidation of families coming together for this past Thanksgiving
Hmm.
after the last 3 years of everybody duking it out on through social media. And I
Yes.
think a lot of people are afraid that no matter what I say, somebody's going to take issue with it.
Absolutely. And so I do tend to caution people, try to stay away from some of those super hot button issues that you wouldn't want to talk about at the Thanksgiving table either, right?
Yeah.
Stay off of those on social too, because they will definitely bring the polarized conversation. For some people and for their brand, that's who they want to be, right? They want to be the person who's kind of pushing boundaries and having arguments. I don't. I want to have constructive conversation that brings ideas to the table and builds, positive goals and growth. So yes, it's a very real fear, but it shouldn't stop us from trying to connect with the people who we really want to connect with, right? If somebody jumps on and is what I call, or the world actually calls, a troll, and they're just jumping on to be negative, you can ignore that, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't go off and delete it and all of that, because then you get people incited more angry, right? And they want to respond again. But just kind of ignore that one and have conversations with those people who are being contributors, right? In a positive way, sharing insights. Be respectful of the feedback that you might get. You don't have to jump into having an argument right now. You just want to have some conversation. Get real about it. And if you're really nervous, start with something simple like a poll. Almost all of the social platforms will allow you to take a poll. So you put up a question with a few answers. I also recommend that one of the answers be other, so that they can explain themselves in questions or in the comments if they want. But that's kind of a way to kind of tailor the discussion or guide the discussion into these areas, instead of keeping it, so open-ended that you could get anybody talking about something crazy.
National Association of Realtors, I'm going to bring this back around to real estate because it's one of the industries that I am an expert in.
Mhm.
Um, National Association of Realtors just listed the top 3 social platforms that in the order of where transactions come from
Mhm.
for real estate agents: LinkedIn, Google, Facebook. Is that, and I have never done anything on Google, so I don't know any, but I have a girlfriend that did 4 transactions last year by just keeping her Google profile up and running. First of all, I
Yeah.
have no clue what a Google profile is. Isn't that awful? If you Google Kim Hayden Calgary, there's so much content around me for the last, since 2014. I've been
Mhm.
very, very visible, and yet I still don't have. I'm sure somebody has a Google profile underneath me. I have no
Well,
idea
you
what it
might want to
is.
go claim it if not. But it used to be called Google My Business, but it's now
Okay.
called Google Business Profile. So if you
Okay.
put in the Google machine, what is Google Business Profile, you should be able to come up with a few ideas. But when you put a place or a business into Google, and on the right-hand side, it brings up a box, and the box usually has like a picture of the location. You can go to their website, you can call them, you can see a map and get directions. There's maybe reviews for that organization. So it happens a lot with like restaurants.
Yeah.
If you put a restaurant in, it comes up on the side of Google. That is your Google Business Profile. And you, as a business owner, can claim that, right, and be the owner of it, which means you have the ability to add photos to it. You have the ability to add posts there if you like. So you can tell people if you're having events, or if you want them to know certain resources or go to certain places. Keeping that up can definitely drive business. And because Google is one of the largest search engines in existence, it becomes a great place to funnel traffic from, and consumers are finding you there.
Demographics. So knowing who your audience is, who you're speaking
Oh,
to,
yep. Hmm.
actually will drive the different platforms, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, what is like what are the ones that you're looking at, you're still going, okay, is that going to be around 3 years from now? Is that, where's that at? I mean, I would have loved to have said TikTok, but I think that thing is here forever. I think it's even changed. It's changed the way we load stuff onto YouTube now, right?
Hmm.
Nobody
Hmm.
wants 2-minute videos or God help us, 30-minute videos. They want 30 seconds, right?
Yep.
It's like you have to draw them in. It's like a little crumbs. Here's your 30 seconds. Come on in. So, what are some of the ones that you think that maybe we could, in theory, skip and apply our efforts elsewhere?
So that is a very difficult question to answer, because of the exact reasons you gave. Your audience drives where you should be. And so where you as a real estate agent should be versus where you as a podcast host should be for this talk are different. And where I should be in social media marketing is also different. So let me give you a couple of examples. TikTok, I'm not on there as a business right now. And some people are like, how is that possible? Well, most of the people that I work with are marketers who have at least 3 to 5 years of experience. Are they spending time on TikTok? Sure, they are doing research and perhaps posting for the organizations that they work for. But is that where they're necessarily going to learn about social media strategy, techniques, what's changing? Probably not, right? They're finding me or our organization on LinkedIn and Twitter. Those are kind of our two best platforms. So right now, my team doesn't have the bandwidth to be absolutely everywhere. So we choose to focus in on some of those platforms that are higher population of folks who want to talk and engage with us about professional development, right? Not
Yeah.
just see some kitschy video that I might be doing. Is that going to change? Yes, probably. Um, Video is not going away.
No.
So understanding it, coming up with short content, which TikTok also allows us to have a little bit more of that urgency, get their attention right away, keep it short and simple. Those techniques are huge, regardless of your platform. So I think that, those things we're going to learn and implement over others. It was also interesting to me. So Snapchat a few years ago, I would say 5, maybe 6 years ago, was a big kind of new thing. And I had a bunch of marketers in to Minneapolis. We met at the Mall of America, had dinner, and everybody gets out their selfie stick, and because that was popular at that time, and they're taking pictures. And one guy says, "Jen, I can't find you on Snapchat." I said, "No, I'm not on Snapchat." Right? And he's like, "Why? How can you be the CEO of the National Institute for Social Media and not be on Snapchat?" Well, the average age for Snapchat at that time was between 18 or 13 and 18. I just mentioned, right? My audience is college degree and 3 to 5 years of work experience. So that didn't fit my age demographic at all, except for those marketers who needed to know how it worked. They didn't want to talk with me there, right? And so there are platforms like that that I will likely, and I say with caution, never be on, right?
Yeah.
Because they won't fit my demographic.
Well, Discord is interesting. So,
Hmm.
Success a Magazine has just started Discord chat rooms and such. I don't quite get it. My kids have been using it for a decade,
Uh-huh.
right? Because it was a gaming platform. But it's interesting. So it's like real time kind of Facebook groups type of thing,
Hmm.
right? So it's real. It reminds me a bit of like Clubhouse or something like
Yeah.
that. Where you can interact and engage in real time, but then there's a video component.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many. There's so many. I mean, I just sit here. I go. I don't even know where to start half the time.
Yeah.
When I miss the three channel universe, I have to say.
Well, when we really sit down and think about it, there are more than 3,000 social media platforms out there. Now, we only talk about the top maybe 25, but the top 25 in the US are not necessarily the top 25 in
No.
Canada and are not definitely not the top 25 in China or Asia or Europe. And so we have to think about that too. The platforms that are going to stay around are the ones like Discord that are going to make adjustments, right? So
Yep.
you mentioned it already. It was a highly gaming platform. It's now changing. It's becoming a little bit more open to other industries and other conversations. The way Facebook has stayed alive, in my opinion, is yes, it's the largest across all platforms, but it's also bought tools that people don't even realize necessarily are owned by Facebook or Meta. Instagram is a Meta product, right? One of the fastest growing platforms out there right now. WhatsApp is one of the most favored
Yep.
platforms in almost every country other than the US, it seems.
Yep.
And that is a Meta product,
Oh,
right?
is it?
It
I see.
is.
Yeah, I like WhatsApp. I like WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp with our publishing house over in the UK.
Yeah.
So I work with UK and Australian kind of counterparts, and WhatsApp is what we use, right? It's easy. I'm going to ask. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Know your brand.
Mhm.
What is a simple, easy brand exercise somebody could implement to start getting clarity?
Yeah. So I typically ask folks to look at three kind of questions. Who are you? What value do you bring? And what do you want other people to know? They seem like very similar questions to a lot of people, but most people will answer the first one with their job description, like, "Oh, I'm a accountant, CPA." No, okay, fine. So what value do you bring me? Right? What value do you bring the universe? That tends to open us up a little bit
Yeah.
more and go, "Oh, well, I can provide insights on this. If I maybe I'm specifically a tax accountant for small businesses, or I provide insight on estate taxes or whatever." It gives us a little bit of a broader, deeper emotion. And then the third one is, what do you want other people to know? Well, that's for the person who at the first question was like, "Ooh, I'm a swim mom and a this and a that and a this." And you know what I mean? And puts it all down and allows us to go, "Okay, well, wait a minute. Now that I've got all of this depth and breadth, what do I really want people to know about me?" And once you kind of have that list, that allows you to start building your brand and really sharing the messages that resonate.
And this is a hard one. I think
It's
this is a
hard.
hard one because so many of us are multifaceted.
Yes.
So getting that brand, I'm right now working on kimhaydentalks.com, which is the overarching everything around me, because now I'm being asked to write articles for publications. I'm being asked to speak in places. I'm now a media expert on a couple
Mhm.
different panels. So I have all these things, and I have my business here and I have my business here. But at the end of the day, these are these are areas of expertise. These are not
Mhm.
who I am.
Yep.
And it's been interesting because we've really struggled with this, and I think I may be wrong on this. You can give me some light on this. I think a lot of us women
Mhm.
tend to go, why would anybody care about my brand versus what I can do?
Mhm.
And there's almost a self, and I've fought against this for about 5 years
Mhm.
of actually putting my name as the brand, and these other things are things that I do.
Yeah.
And is that normal?
It is, especially for women. It's that imposter syndrome piece. We tend to diminish our value to those few things we know we can bring instead of, "Hey, I as Kim or I as Jennifer have something more to give," right? Um, One of the best ways kind of around that and to get out of our stuck mindset is to go to some of our very key advisors, not necessarily our best friends, but our key advisors in life and business, and say, "This is what I'm thinking. What's your reaction to this?" Like, or what are the words that, if you were to answer those three questions for me, what would you put down? Right? Because they tend to see us clearly, right?
Yeah.
And we may see things through their eyes that we don't want to see ourselves or have tried to deny because we can't believe it's that possible, right?
Absolutely. Well, the name of this show actually comes from an exercise I did. So Kim Talks comes from 8th grade, when the kids decided in our yearbook. So I went to a private Catholic school in Wichita, Kansas, and they my song dedication was Talk Talk, because all I did was talk. And I was so mortified that that was the song that they gave me, but now I totally own it, right? And then the resilience is actually, I went around as an exercise. I said, if you were to sum me up in one word, what would that be? And one of the most common words, and this was like 4 years ago, was the word resilient.
I love
And
that.
it's like, there we
Yeah.
go. Kim Talks Resilience. That's how it was born, folks. It was I mean, the final nail was when my mother said, Kimberly Joe, you are the most resilient person I have ever met in my life. And it's like, okay, my mom says that's the name of it. So let's talk about resilience. Can you share a time within your journey of where you're at that we would not be having this conversation if you didn't lean in hard to your resiliency?
Yeah. So, um, my first 15 years or so of my career was not even in marketing, definitely not in social media, because as we alluded to earlier, I'm a little older, right? I was in higher education, sales and sales leadership, training and development. I left that industry in 2012, and I really struggled with, um, now what? I looked for other higher ed jobs, but I was no longer willing to travel as much as I had been. My babies were pretty little. And I was like, I need to put some other things first instead of my career. And so I had to kind of open myself up to opportunities that I wouldn't have thought about before. I had to put myself out into situations that were not comfortable, and get to know female entrepreneurs, get to know business leaders. What are people doing? How are they doing it here in the Minnesota area, right? Like, because I don't want to travel all the time. And then it really came down to making a decision to say yes, right? So I was introduced to the founder of the National Institute for Social Media through a colleague, actually my real estate agent. And he said, you should meet this young guy. He's got a great idea. I started working with him because I was like, why not? Working with someone else or for someone else is not a huge commitment. I can still be on my journey of discovery. I did that for a few years. And then I said, you know what? I need to step away. We have different visions for where NISM can be. I left. I started my own company, Socially Inspired, which you referenced earlier. But then I had the opportunity presented to myself in 2016 to come back and purchase the organization. And it was terrifying, right? It wasn't this clear cut, like, yeah, go do it. But it was the opportunity for me to kind of jump back and reclaim something that I was growing very passionate about and make it something that could be benefit to many other people across the country and the globe. And I feel really good about where we are today, right? But that was that journey of like imposter syndrome came up, right? A lot. Like, can I do this? Should I do this? Am I really young enough to do it in this industry? And to bounce
Yeah.
back and to say, yeah, I can do that. And since then, we've had to get through COVID and shut down because our tests were all offered in person, and now they're not. So you've got to jump back and recalibrate and become resilient. And yeah, had I not been open to the doors, um, we wouldn't be talking. I'd be doing something in higher ed.
And there's going to be a lot of people thanking you for when they look at their bottom line at the end of each year. By the way, is Brunswick Bowling in
Mhm.
your where you're at? Brunswick Bowling?
It was. It's now like Bowlerama or something crazy, but it was
Yeah,
here at one point.
but yeah, Brunswick was the developer. So you are actually from the epicenter of where bowling developed out like 40, 50 years ago.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah, I've actually been, I think I've been to, because I went to a conference. At one point in time, we thought about opening a bowling alley. Don't even ask. It was one of my husband's harebrained ideas. Okay. So let's quickly jump over into books. I want to
Mhm.
talk books. You've got a book. Walk me through what people can get, what they should expect from your book.
Yeah, so this is not a typical chapter book. Okay, this is what I would call an anthology. So it's a collection of stories or advice from 30 plus marketing professionals all across the globe, US and international, talking about different aspects of marketing and social media. How did they get into social media marketing? What are their favorite platforms? What are some of the struggles they've had along the way? And this is one of my favorite accomplishments so far because I met about 75% of these authors through Twitter and invited them to be a part of this collaboration. I have still not met in person absolutely every author in this book. I'm working on it, but hasn't happened yet. But it is a great resource for folks who are like, do I want to be in the social media marketing space? And I will be honest, it's a couple years old, so some of the platforms have changed. Vine doesn't exist anymore, and Clubhouse was never mentioned, nor was TikTok, because it is a few years old. But it really gives us some great insights onto, taking advantage of those opportunities that present themselves, adapting to change, because everything in social media changes, and really giving some insights on how people got where they are in life and in this profession. So it's really a fun read.
Awesome. And I love the name Stories from the Social Side, Advice from Marketing Professionals to Marketing Professionals. That's by Jennifer Radke. So do take a look at that, folks, because we are in the age of what we call fractional reading.
Mm-hmm.
And the different story reading is so great for fitting within the way we're reading now. 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes at a time. We want something fresh every time we turn around, and that's such a the multi-author books, the all these different types of formats coming in are really helping people who are busy be
Yep.
able to still consume great content. And what is better content than content from peers, right? What is better
Exactly.
content than content from peers? So let's talk about where people can find you. So just run through your socials for me.
Yeah. So you can find me online on the website that you have up there. I also have LinkedIn as my name, Jennifer Radke. Most of the other platforms, if you're looking for me personally, it's Radke Jen. So last name and then first Jen. Otherwise, the business can be found on NISM online, again, on almost all of the bigger platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube.
And that's NISM online.org for those of you who are listening. So yeah, so I do encourage people because whether or not I like it, this is never going away, folks. This is the way we're doing the world now.
Mhm.
And you can sit here and dream about the Sunday evening 3 channel universe when Disney had their family hour. I'm that old, folks. I remember that. That was awesome. I remember black and white TV. And I remember the launch of MTV. And,
Mhm.
so the reality is, so if I can do it and try to, lean in and learn, it's taken me a year at nearly 35, 40 hours a week dedication just to learn everything I can about one platform, which is podcasting.
Mhm.
So lean into the professionals. Do you have a newsletter or anything like that that people can sign up for where they can, very quietly kind of that side door coaching opportunity?
Yep. So on our website at the footer, you can find our newsletter subscription. It goes out about once a month. And
Oh,
we
awesome.
also share our twice a month, we have webinars that are free that talk about different aspects of social media marketing, social strategy. And so people are allowed to register for those as well.
So go, you'll get those free webinar information through the newsletter, which you
Yep.
can sign up for. That is not going to hit your inbox every bloody day, 3 times a day. It's going to come out once a month.
Yep.
And you, NISM online.org. Go get that newsletter. This is a great way to be able to get that information without feeling like you're, selling your firstborn or getting roped into a dinner with, your Uncle Eddie. So I love it when there's an offer, an opportunity to
Yeah.
engage at a comfortable level. So let's close this out. I always like to close with a quote, something
Mhm.
that we can kind of mull over for the day.
Yep.
Give us a quote, Jennifer, and why.
Yeah. So my favorite is that change is the only constant. This applies to life, but it is so true in social media as well. Social media is always changing and evolving. You mentioned, Kim, this is the way of the future. This is what we're doing. Social media is here to stay. I totally agree. The platforms may change. The content formats may change. But this is the path we're going on, right? So change is the only constant, folks. Let's get ready. Let's embrace it and see what we can do.
Change can be a good thing. Change can be a good thing, especially if it's your clothes and underwear. Change is a good thing. So
Absolutely.
I just went there. I raised 3 kids. Trust me, change is a good thing, folks. Um, you know what? That's it for us today. And again, I thank you for sharing your most valuable resource, your time. I do truly appreciate it. If
My
you ever
pleasure.
feel absolutely, and folks, if you're ever feeling that your resiliency is lagging just that wee bit, do lean in to our resilient community, either through our podcast, our magazine, our events, anything and everything that we have to offer you. You can easily go resilientgift.com. Resilientgift.com. Sign up, grab your all those resources, lean in. Never going to ask for a credit card, never going to have a sneaky renewal fee. This is seriously my gift to you. So, again, this is Kim Talks Resilience. I am Kim Hayden, your host, and I am so grateful for your time. Bye for now.